Welcome everyone to mission 4 of my BattleTech Aces Scouring Sands campaign. This is mission number 10, Face of the Enemy. Star Captain Conrad Sender of the Jade Falcons has invited Ember and members of the newly named 3 Spark Company to meet with the Apolakkians, who you see here in their heavy hover APCs. Exactly what they need for this type of meeting. And they're going to talk it out. They're going to try to talk things out and come to an agreement, to a resolution to all the issues that have been going on here on Apolakkia. I think we're going to probably have an epic showdown here. Just to be safe, a lot of extra security is here to make sure things go according to plan. But we're going to see what tricks the Star Captain has up his sleeves. All right, I do have the battlefield set up here. We're just about ready to go. I'm going to give a brief review of the campaign thus far if you're interested. I'll tell you what's happened in between the last mission and this one, just a couple minor changes. And then I'll explain a little bit about how this mission works, and then we will get into the action. If you've been following the campaign so far and watched the videos, you know that we're doing the evil playthrough. So we pretty much have ignored the Apolakkians thus far. We started off by going right after the Jade Falcons and attacking a base. We were mildly successful there, suffered a lot of losses, but we carried on. We were successful in the next mission in capturing Star Commander Maya. We had an option to try to help the Apolakkians defend their city, but we said, screw that. Let's just go after the commander of the Jade Falcons. And we did capture her and took her off, although it seemed like she kind of wanted us to. Nothing really came of that. I was expecting something to happen, but it seemed like, whatever, move on. But we do have her in our capture. She is our prisoner for now. And so then, instead of going after the thermopile, the mountain pass that was really important to the Apolakkians, it would have been very beneficial if we had captured that and secured it for them. We said, forget that. We're going after the supply convoy because we need munitions. We need stuff for our campaign. We were fairly successful there. We did manage to capture everything in the convoy, which is going to play into this mission. Unfortunately, though, during that mission, the commanding officer, Miser, was killed in action. Took a cockpit hit on the very first turn, the very first point of damage, just killed in cold blood by Marauder 2C. It was horrific. But Ember stepped in. Ember is our amazing blackjack pilot. She stepped right in, took over the command, led them to a roaring victory, even against all the odds. The catapult that Miser was piloting was out of commission, but they still pulled it out thanks to Ember's leadership. She has taken over the mercenary company, named it the 3 Sparks Company, and will take over as the commanding officer and plans to lead them from here on out. Now, there were some shady rumors about, what was going on exactly in that mission. It seemed awfully convenient that Ember was starting to come into her own, and then Miser was taken out, and now she immediately takes over. But perhaps we will get to that. So, here's the campaign roster so far. We have quite a lot scratched out. Foot Infantry, Maxim, Demolisher, Catapult, Warhammer. 2 of the mechs that are out of commission were both piloted by Miser. It's not a coincidence. Miser, gone, one of our named pilots. He's dead. There's no way to recover him. Got a couple things in our memorial. We have the Maxim crew who had an epic cockpit destruction of Star Commander Maya in the second mission, and then they were destroyed and lost, but we will remember them forever. And then we have Miser here. Somebody scratched him out and wrote loser. That wasn't very nice, but he was there. He was part of the force. He showed up, had good attendance, I guess you could say. As far as how things are going for resources, I would say they're going pretty horribly. And I would love for someone to explain to me what the heck I'm supposed to do here, because I have 610 SP. I can't buy anything. I mean, the only thing everything is 1 point value equals 40 SP. So I could buy something that's like 15 points right now. What's that? A Skulker. That's what I could buy. So I can't really replace any of the things that I lost. I have no SP. My named pilots consume all of it. Everything we get here, they pretty much take it all. And so I'm left with not a lot of options. So as I'm planning for this mission, I'm considering using one of the reconnaissance options. I'm considering hiring another name pilot, but I'm also confused about that because apparently you have to decide to buy that from your earnings through the mission, but then my name pilots won't get anything because I would take 150 SP away, so they wouldn't really get anything, which I don't want to happen. I want them to get better. I don't know what to do. So I think I'm going to just probably use some of these SP to help me with this mission because I'm going to need it. Let me tell you, I'm going to need it. And Steve, unfortunately, was injured. So our other name pilot has an injury and can't participate in this sortie. So we've got all kinds of problems going on. We've got everything working against us, but that's what happened last mission, and we pulled it out. So we're going to rely on Ember's leadership here, and we're going to see what happens. Let's talk a little bit about this mission. Here it is, mission number 10, Face of the Enemy. Here's the little bit of story from the, not your perspective. This is either from the Jade Falcons or from the Apolakkians. I think this guy's name is Agapito Galanis. I'm not sure if it is or not, but I think that might be his name. If you read this campaign book, you know what I'm talking about. Or you can just see it right here. My name is. Okay, so the briefing is basically telling you that you knew something was up here. Like, why did the Star Captain invite you here? Why would he do this? Why would he make it so easy for you to get right up in front of him? You knew something was going to happen. So basically there's, they get together, the Apolakkians are in these APCs here. They start talking, and then of course things get heated, they get tense, everything goes wrong. And then Star Captain Sender launches a surprise. Buried explosives right under these APCs. So at the start of the mission, all the APCs suffer an MP hit. So they all start with half of their movement and a lower TMM. They only start with a TMM of 1. So that is not a good way to start the mission, but that is part of the parameters that are going to make this mission difficult and make it hard for us to decide exactly how we want to accomplish this. I cannot even get remotely close to the PV value that they're offering. They offer 360 PV. Now that would be almost your entire roster if you took the full amount. You start with 400. I don't have anything close to that. I think I could get close to 240. It's about the best I can do. I'm literally bringing this entire roster. I'm bringing every single thing I have on here. Everything. And I think I'm somewhere around 240. Maybe less than that. So basically the way this mission works is that these 3 APCs contain the Apolakkians, and we're trying to protect them. And we can do that in 3 different ways. One way is we can help them get off of the map on the east side here in this escape edge. So the parameters for that are really, they sound okay, but they are going to be difficult. So we have to get at least one of them off the escape edge. If we do that, or all 3 is fine. There's no bonus for it or anything. But if we get at least one of them off the map edge, and we get 180 point value of our force, which that's going to be like 2/3 of our force right there. Actually more than that, I think. If we can get that off of the escape edge, and there are no APCs left on the map, that will trigger a victory. Option 2 is to engage in a duel with Star Captain Sender. And if we make him withdraw off the map due to putting him into force withdrawal, which is an effect in this mission, that will win the mission immediately as well. This is the first mission in this campaign that has force withdrawal. The third option is that I can take out 3 enemy mechs that are not the Thunderbolt 2C. So if I take out 3 mechs, then I'm able to win the mission that way. But that's in the end phase. So I have to get to the end phase and have destroyed 3 other enemy mechs, then I win. Those are my 3 ways to do it. Escape, duel, or overpower by destroying a number of his units. Now you may be looking here and saying, well, I only see 3 enemy units. Well, that's because there's a couple that are in reserve, which means they're going to come onto the map later. There are waypoints on the turn track that will control that, and they also control these waypoints here. So these are only revealed by the turn track, and given how easy these are for me to get to, you can imagine that they're not going to be very helpful. If you watch the second mission when we tried to capture the commander, and these were scattered around the map, yeah, they weren't good for me, so usually. All right, there are 2 additional rules that are going to come into play for this mission. Number 1 is you cannot destroy Star Captain Sender's mech. So the Thunderbolt 2C is indestructible. It takes critical hits normally, but it can never be destroyed. So if it gets destroyed, it just survives with 1 pip of internal structure. Critical hits apply except for the MP hit. So all that stuff happens normally, except it just cannot be completely destroyed during the mission. It can only force withdraw off the map. The second one is we can protect, so any named pilots can protect the Apolakkians. If they are in base-to-base contact with one of these hover APCs and the enemies are attacking it, they can spend an edge token to have the attack go after them instead. I have no idea how I'm actually going to use this during the mission because I just don't have a pilot for the Victor. I'm going to leave Ember in her Blackjack. The Victor would be a good one because it can soak damage, but I want to leave Ember in her mech. So I just don't think I'll be able to make much use of that. So my plan is going to be obviously to try to sprint these this way as fast as possible. I guess I'm going to have to sprint a lot of my force that way, but I do need to make sure that I can get some of them to take the heat off of the Apolakkians. So I got to figure out exactly how I'm going to do that. The objectives themselves, and this may be when I was complaining about how I have no SP, this might be how you get back into it because I think eventually you get to this mission no matter what, regardless of what path you take. So the primary objective is to resolve the situation using one of the 3 options I mentioned. You get 1,800 SP for that. So for that convoy mission where we lost our commander, had the Victor destroyed and had to recover that was super expensive. We lost the Demolisher. We got 900 for that. That's it. For this one, we can get up to 1,800. So maybe this will get me back in a position where we can actually do something. Secondary objectives are I get 200 SP for every enemy mech I destroy. So obviously can't do that to the Thunderbolt 2C, but there are potentially 4 other mechs I could destroy. And so we mentioned that this sortie will end immediately when you've completed one of the primary objectives. If you have not by the end of turn 7, or if all the APCs are destroyed, the sortie's a failure. So I got to be able to complete one of those objectives within 7 turns. There will be no issue with that. Worst case scenario, we can certainly make that mech force withdraw, I think, just by ganging up and just beating the heck out of it until it dies, or, doesn't die. He's immortal, but he can at least get off the map. So the Bane is here to do indirect fire. This is the Bane 3. It has an indirect fire of 7. It can do 8 damage from short, medium, and long if it's not using indirect fire. So we have the indirect attack special order card. The only good thing about this is that if it hides, which it typically does, it has a perfect hill right next to it to hide, it will take one of these 2 off the map as far as attacking because nobody does as much damage as that thing. So as far as a spotter goes, the card tells it to not attack. All right, I'm going to introduce you to the forces. I had to pause for a minute because I'm like, I have 11 units out there, but I should only have 10. What's going on? I had the Demolisher in the trees. Demolisher's dead and gone, so that I had to take that off the map. Oh boy, that would have been my biggest mistake so far in a campaign where I've made so many rules mistakes. I'm going to try to be better this time. I always strive to be better, yet I never am. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to the forces. I'm probably not going to lay out all these cards. I don't really feel like setting this all back up, so I'm just going to tell you what I got going on. At this point, you probably get it. I will show you the enemy forces cards, though, just so you know what's happening there. All right, here we have the 3 Sparks Company. And the logic behind this was that Ember is the fire spark. Shockwave, our combat vehicle pilot, is the electricity spark. And Steve, who unfortunately is wounded, is the chaos spark. He's just chaotic. Does that make any sense? No, probably not. Listen, I have no creativity. That's the best I could come up with, so there we go. All right, so let me tell you about what we got going on here. So we got Ember in her Blackjack BJ2. Pretty good mech. Decent armor and structure. Does a decent amount of damage from any range. Ember has been amazing, rolled great, made great use of her edge. Just all around awesome, so we'll see if she can continue. We have a Victor. This is the 9D, so this can do short, medium, and long range damage, can soak a ton of damage, and it's gonna need to on this mission, so. Also can jump, which is helpful, although not super great on this mission because it's mostly open space, but we'll see if we can put that to use. We got the Hunchback coming in for the first time. Good armor and structure, does a lot of damage up close, pretty much the same thing as a Demolisher. We got a Hermes, pretty fast. I'm hoping this is one we can get to escape if we decide to go that route. Manicore, use it in the last mission. Luckily it survived. I love this vehicle. Good, really good armor for a vehicle. Pretty good damage overall. Here's the fodder. We've got the Skulker wheeled scout tank. And it's got very little armor. It's totally useless, but it rounded out the point value. And we got the Pegasus, which has been very useful on this mission. Fast, decent damage, can only do 2 from up close, but it's fast, and that's what's important. And then all the way over here, we have the LRM carrier with Shockwave, who's made good use of indirect fire, although we may not have as many chances this time. We've got the Condor, which, you know what, maybe Shockwave will go in the Condor, we'll see. But the Condor is amazing, it's fast, it does pretty good damage. It successfully took Star Commander Maya off the map. Just a good all-around vehicle. And then we've got the Clint, which is kind of a useless mech, but it does have decent speed, so again, it can try to escape or, I don't know, distract or do something. We also have these 3 heavy hover APCs on our side for this mission, so they will count for our force size in terms of initiative. I will control them, although I plan to sprint them every turn. I don't plan to actually use them to attack or anything. They're pretty useless. They've got 2 points of armor, 1 of structure, and they can only do 1 point of damage from short range, so they are borderline useless, and they're just going to try to get off the map here. We have to hope, now they're all marked as destroy objectives. I have gray dice that just tell me which card they are, like which version of the APC they are. And then the purple dice is telling me they all have an MP hit that's reducing 8 inches of movement from their card. So the destroy objectives are supposed to be picked up by the aces, but I've found that they're very hit or miss about this. We'll see what happens in this mission. I'm hoping they will go after them aggressively. That's what they're supposed to do. All right, on the Jade Falcon side, we got the Commander and the Thunderbolt 2C. This mech is pretty awesome. It's got a lot of armor, okay structure. It's got 5 damage from short and medium, 2 from long, 10-inch movement, no jump, and it's got a skill of 2. I mean, this thing is gonna pound us, but if we focus fire, we should be able to take it out to make it force withdraw off the map. His partners in crime are a Summoner H, another good unit, good armor, 5 and 5 from short and medium, 10-inch jump movement, skill of 3. Might end up being the spotter though, so may not do that much. And then we got the big boy, the Bane 3. Crazy mech, tons of armor, tons of damage, slow movement, doesn't have tons of that. But this thing is a menace, and we just need to make sure we can minimize whatever it's doing. We need it to hit on 8s or higher for anything it does. We shall see. Off the map are a Howler 6 and a Locust 2C. This is the actual Locust 2C that's scary. The one that does 5 from short and medium. I promise it's the one that does 5 from both. I forgot about that in the first mission. It was not that one. So we're gonna start with these 3, and then eventually the other ones may join the fray. We're gonna think of some strategy, but I got a couple of options here before we get started. All right, I think we're ready to go here. I do have one option. I have a couple, I said, but I think I'm going to skip the name pilot. I just can't afford it, and I think you're supposed to do it in the end of sortie steps, and I just don't want to take all the points away from my name pilot. So my option is for Reconnaissance. Depending on how you got here, you have different keywords you can use. I have the artillery keyword, so I'm allowed to read waypoint 10x. Now let me tell you, I wasn't too thrilled when I read this. I was like, seriously? This is what I get for that last mission? It says, years of distrust of Star Captain Conrad Sender have prepared the Apolakkians for the worst. They brought 2 of their artillery cannons you seized during the convoy mission in the last episode and set them up nearby just in case. You may spend 100 SP. What? I have to pay for this? If you do, take 2 sniper cards from the battlefield support deck. You can use them during any combat phase as sortie. I read this and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? I recovered this artillery as part of the mission, and you're telling me I gotta pay now to use it. Okay, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take it. I need all the help I can get, so I'll take the 2 sniper cards. I got them out just in case. I wasn't sure if I was gonna do this because I was pretty mad that I had to pay, but I don't know. I may as well. I'll use them. Okay, sorry, I realized I had the BattleTech ones, the classic BattleTech ones. All right, here's the Alpha Strike ones. I got 2 sniper cards. I need to roll an 8 to hit these, and if I do, they do a 2 damage. And they do it in this area. I don't think these mechs are going to get too close to each other. These 2 might, so it'd be great if they did, and I could use this to hit them both at the same time, but worst case scenario, I can at least try to use them to hit the Star Captain. You know, an 8's not great, but at least I could try to hit him. But it gives me some options. Just gives me something else to do, so I'm going to spend the 100 and do it, and we'll see if I can put them to good use. I think that's it. I think we're ready to roll initiative and get this sucker started. All right, if you've been watching my videos, you know the drill by now. I'm the orange, the player force, the 3 Sparks company. The green is the Jade Falcons. There are no bonuses or penalties for this round. We're starting on Star Captain card B, which is going to assign the move last to the Bane every time because it's highest medium damage. Nothing in this game, as far as I know, will do more than 8 damage. So it will be the move last. I do want to thank a couple of commenters on my first campaign mission playthrough. I got a yawn. I got some thumbs downs, so I appreciate that. I really like that. Thank you very much. Motivates me to continue for sure. Listen, I can take it. I can take it. My style's not for everyone. All right, anyway, let's go. Roll initiative. So, wow, the Jade Falcons win initiative. That stinks, but it should be okay on the first round. Let's do this. All right, I'm gonna use this top-down view again, meaning like just very right on top of the battlefield. There are just too many units here for me to explain all the movement, so I'm gonna do most of the movement. I probably will show you a little bit of the aces, but for my units, like I got 13. It's just not gonna happen. I'm gonna hold off on these till the very end, of course. On the map, it shows these as being 2 little squares from the back edge of this rock. That's 8 inches. I have measured this to make sure that my setup is the same. They are 8 inches to the back edge of that. So I'm sticking with how the mission setup is, but I know that if I sprint, I can get them behind here. After that, they're on their own. All right, nothing too terribly interesting for the first part of movement. I am moving the 2 faster mechs, the Clint and the Hermes, this way to try to cover the Apolakkians' escape. I think they're good ones. They can both hit from long range. They do decent medium range, but I think they're good to come back this way and try to help run away if that's what we plan to do. It also gets some of my point value headed in that direction. I moved the Victor forward. I jumped it. It can soak a lot of damage, and I'm hoping these units are going to pick up on it because it has the lowest TMM, so to speak. The cards usually pick up on. Now, one of the things that I brought up in my other video about this is you start on card B for the Star Captain, which for the red list, which is the most common, it does not have the destroy objective listed here. So when it's looking for units like this, just moving units, it needs that to be there first, because otherwise it goes into things like lowest TMM, lowest armor, most armor, whatever. So it might pick these up, but when it's the yellow or blue list on this card, it will pick that destroy objective first before anything else. So I've noticed that because red is the most common, sometimes it's not picking these up because it has the red list. Now, the summoner went first. Oh, I should mention, I also pulled the skulker, my useless skulker, down to here. I want to give them something to key on this way to keep them from going too far this way toward these objectives. Okay, so for the skirmisher, I think I did this wrong because I thought it said if any moved enemies are within 30, but actually the target selection doesn't care if they've moved or not. So it's looking at the yellow list, so it is going to pick up these 3. Now it started here, so it would pick this one up because it's the closest. So on the yellow list, it has a destroy objective. It's going to pick one of these 3. The closest one would be the tiebreaker. So I think I will have to put it here. I think that satisfies the card better. Again, I know I overanalyzed this and I probably spend way too much time trying to get it in the perfect spot. But now that I'm thinking about it, it will have cover versus these, whereas here it'll have cover versus almost nothing. It wants cover. That's what it wants to do. It's within 12 inches. It can't get to the woods and be within 12 inches, so it wants cover versus as many enemies, so I think that's the ideal spot for it. As always, let me know what you think. Okay, time for me to move more stuff. All right, second round of movement here, second step of movement. I kind of did the same thing with the Hunchback as I did with the Victor. I just moved it this way. This thing's probably going to get completely destroyed, but I don't really know what else to do with it. I moved the Mana Core within the woods. I kept it in the woods there. But I want these to be my damage soakers, so they're kind of moving forward. But I'm leaving myself with options as far as getting them this way if I have to. The Condor and the Pegasus are going to hide behind these woods. I figure if the Bane goes after them, the spotters are probably going to have line of sight through the trees to them. I don't want them too close this round. They're my next round agitators to zoom in and try to do something next round. So that's what I did. Probably not like the greatest tactical move, but whatever, it's okay. Now it's up to the Thunderbolt. And I said the red list is the most common, but this card's looking at the yellow list for this one because it says if this unit has more armor than the damage rating of any enemy, and that's true, it has 7. None of my units can do 7. It wants to go out 10 inches and look for something on the yellow list that it can attack after moving. That would be this right here. Any of the 3 destroy objectives, it's going to pick the closest one, so that's the middle. Will it be able to attack after moving? Probably not, but it doesn't know that yet. But its card is saying targeting range to as many enemies as possible, get closer to the target, get cover, and have no unmoved enemies in 12. It can't do the last 2. It can get closer. It can be in basically targeting range to almost everything except that Skulker. So I feel like what it wants me to do, it doesn't say to get behind it, and it doesn't say to just go, it just says get closer to the target. So I feel like I would probably do something like that. Does that seem right? I say this all the time. It is a brawler. It wants to be out in the open. It's certainly making my life easy by doing that. I mean, I don't know. I guess that solves it. It has, I mean, if I turn it a little bit more, not quite that much, maybe about there. It can target literally everything on the map. I think that's where it would go. I don't know how much closer to get it. It does not want to be in base-to-base contact, that's for sure. The rulebook tells you they don't want to do physical attacks unless the card specifically tells you to, or if it just has weapon damage reduced or whatever. But I got closer to the target and targeting range to everything, so looks good to me. All right, so there's my movement, really straightforward. Moved all the APCs behind here. I did the middle one first because it could go the farthest. Then I did this one, and then I did that one. They can all get back there with 12 inches of movement. Like I said, look up the mission if you think I'm I'm playing it too gamey, but they can all get behind that rock. That's probably why the rock is there, so I'm going to take advantage of it. The way this brawler moved, and I think I did the facing correctly because it wants to be able to see everything. I'm gonna pull up the rules. So when it talks about facing, it says facing toward the target, which it was. It was facing toward the target. The target that is selected is within its firing arc. Got it. No enemy is, you know what? That's funny that it says this. The target that is selected is within its firing arc. That kind of answers the I question. Anyway, no enemy is within its rear if possible. We had nothing in its rear. No enemy is outside of its firing arc if possible. So the only way to do that was to angle it this way to keep the Skulker and the Victor in its firing arc. So I did that correctly, and the Blackjack with Ember said, you know what? This is too good to be true. So she moved right here, oops, into his, it should be the rear. I'm looking at his line here. Yeah, that's going to be in his rear. So yeah, so that was just too good to pass up at short range. And this is Ember we're talking about here. She can overheat, and she can inflict an extra critical if she rolls an 11. So I had to do it. The Bane, the Bane's going to do exactly what you expect. If there are any moved enemies within 24 inches, lots of them. There are no unmoved enemies. That's true. There are no unmoved enemies within 12 inches of the Bane. And it does not have line of sight to any enemy. It does not. I went back and looked. There's no line of sight at all. Just going to chill. It's just going to stand still. But that means one of these two units is going to not attack this round. It's going to let the Bane do indirect fire, and it will not attack. So if you think about it, that, you know, instead of doing 5, 5, 8, it's just going to do 5 and 8. So I sometimes I don't know, is that better for me or not? But it'll be interesting to see which one it picks as a spotter. Time to get into combat. It's my turn. I might get this Thunderbolt into force withdrawal in the first turn. I hope so. All right, Ember, the newly appointed commander of this mercenary squad, going to show her crew how it's done. She got in great position on the Star Captain. Not quite a rear shot, but definitely behind him in close range. She's going to overheat and kick us off here. Right as she's about to fire, she gets a transmission from the Star Captain who says, "Listen to me. I did what you asked. Don't shoot. Tell your squad to run away and live." Ember says she's thinking she can maybe be commander of 2 different units now. All right, let's get to the firing. Too much yapping from the color commentator. Okay, Blackjack does 3 damage at short range. Ember's going to overheat to do 4 damage. She just needs 6s, 4 for her skill and 2 for the Star Captain's movement. 6s. Ember, can you continue your dominance? Yes, you can. Ember, as always, gets it done. That's 4 damage to the Thunderbolt already. Only has 7 armor. All right, the Hunchback in his first mission, the nameless pilot, inspired by his commander, ready to show what he can do. Gonna attack the Star Captain. I mean, why the heck not? Make this thing withdraw. So it's gonna be 8s. He's just in medium range. Does 3 damage. Let's see what this Hunchback can do. AC 20, coming right in the face. 8s. Not so great, but you know, what do you expect from an unnamed pilot? I mean, we did have the Maxim crew, but there's only one of those. All right, the Skulker crew is like, watch us, Commander. We can do it. They do 1 damage, a whopping 1 damage. They are in short range. They could put another one on this Thunderbolt, make this the shortest mission in history. They only need 6s, just like Ember, so 1 point coming in. Got it. Man, this Skulker crew is amazing. We need to have them on every mission. All right, the Victor with an unnamed pilot filling in for Steve. Does 4 damage just outside of short range. Wants to put a pounding on this Thunderbolt, but it's going to be tough. That's going to be 10s. Let's see, can you do it? Ooh, gets one. 1 damage. Okay, this Thunderbolt is going to get wrecked. All right, here's where we're sitting so far. Thunderbolt has no armor left. I mean, you guys tell me, does this mission make any sense to you? Like, I just don't get it. This is so easy to kill this thing. What is the deal? Like, like if I put this thing in force withdrawal, it's literally going to sprint off the map in the next round. All right, the Manticore is up. Their crew feeling a little bit jealous of the Skulker, who made a great shot and seems to be getting the attention of the commander. They're not big fans. They're going to shoot at the Thunderbolt. They need 8s for medium range. 3 damage for medium range. Let's go, Manticore. Put this thing in force withdrawal. That is not going to do it, but that's 1 internal. The Thunderbolt 2C can be damaged by critical hits, so we're going to do 1 here. But if it's a 7, it does not count. We skip MP hits. That's a weapon hit. All right, time to play it smart. We're going to use these guys who can't see the summoner, and they're going to shoot at the Thunderbolt. I'm sure one of them is going to put this into force withdrawal. We're going to start with the Hermes. It does 3 from medium range. It's a pretty sweet mech. So it's going to have 8s as well. I mean, that rock is covering like a tiny bit of its legs, but not enough for partial cover. So it's 8s, does 3. If we get 1, it's in force withdrawal. Yeah, the pink one hit. All right, it's in force withdrawal. Gets another critical hit. Gets a nothing. Okay, this is in force withdrawal. All right, Clint's going to give it a try. Does 2. It can only see the Thunderbolt, so it might as well take another crack, see if we can get a critical hit on it. Needs 8s. Does 2. Nah, doesn't get anything. All right, the Condor and the Pegasus both have clear line of sight over there to the Summoner, and there's no point in attacking the Thunderbolt anymore, so they're going to try to attack that. I think I might use the Pegasus for indirect fire, but I got to do the calculation. So the LRM carrier could do indirect fire, but it might be pretty bad numbers. All right, the Condor's going to go. It's going to need 9s because it has the trees in the way, so it only does 2. Needs a 9 on the Summoner. Almost got it, but not quite. All right, Pegasus is going to spot for the LRM carrier. It's going to be 10s to hit the Summoner. The Pegasus would have had 9s, but it does less damage, so what the heck. I'll give it a chance on 10s for that Summoner. Ooh, no dice. Well, lots of dice, but no hits. All right, the Bane is not up first. It actually will go last in the combat round. However, it has no line of sight, so we got to pull up the indirect attacks card and figure out who it wants to use as a spotter. So we got to figure out what target does it want. So it wants to go out 6 inches, and I think the Skulker is just within 6. I mean, it is like by a hair's edge, it is within 6. I think it wants the Skulker. I'm going to triple check that it's within 6. If it's not, it's going to go out 24 inches and have a lot of options. Hit the target's rear, attacked by an ally. See, this is weird when it does this because nothing has been attacked by an ally this turn. Something will be attacked when it gets back to it, but you got to figure out the spotter first. So, and I like how it tells you on these too. I never noticed that for some reason, but it actually tells you use the indirect fire. It's going to go for most. I don't know how you're going to break the tie really, so I'm inclined to say it's the Skulker, but I'm also inclined to implement the golden rule because that is such a colossal waste. Why on earth would you waste this thing on the stupid Skulker? So I think I'm going to go out further, and it's probably going to pull in the Blackjack or maybe the Manticore. Let me measure out and let's see. All right, we're just going to pretend the Skulker's out of 6. I mean, it literally is on the edge, so I think it's fine to say it's not because, come on, it's like, why would you waste the Bane on this thing? So it's got anything in this inner circle. So any of these 3, the Victor, the Hunchback, it could do the destroy objectives, but nobody can see them. It's got the Blackjack, and then, I mean, it would have the Skulker too. But there's no way to break the tie, right? Nothing. It can't hit the target's rear. I mean, can you hit the rear? I mean, technically it's not in the rear of the Skulker. So you can't hit the rear. Nothing's been attacked by an ally, and nothing has the most armor loss. So I believe the tiebreaker is what's the closest. I'm going to double check the rules, but in that case, I guess it would be the Skulker. All right, according to the rules, it would attack the Skulker. It goes for the closest when nothing can break the tie, and we don't have anything to break the tie. The closest thing we have for a tie break can attack the target's rear, but if I draw the line from the Bane to the Skulker, it's going in the side, hex side there, so that's not a rear attack. So it would still go after the Skulker. I'm going to just go ahead and apply the golden rule and say that is just incredibly dumb. I'm going to go for the Manticore. I like how I'm flapping around the destroy objective card. Yeah, this is the one we need. So we're looking for a spotter, line of sight to the preferred target. Both the Thunderbolt and the Summoner have it. None are immobile or use standstill movement. They both deal the exact same damage from medium range. The target has no cover. Neither can do that. The spotter deals less damage than the total IF rating. It will not attack. So I think I'm just going to use the Summoner as a spotter because it's going to be the same no matter what. So we'll let the Thunderbolt do its attack. So it's going to use indirect fire. The Bane is going to use indirect fire against the Mana Core, but the Summoner will not attack this round. Sorry, and the reason I'm doing that is because at the bottom it says, if the spotter deals less damage than the total IF rating of all indirect attacks, it will not attack. Well, this has an IF 7. That has a damage rating of 5, so yeah, not going to attack. All right, Star Captain Sender is up first. I feel like I always start the camera on him because he's right in the middle of everything. So he wants to go out 24 inches, hit the target's rear, can't do that. Yellow command list, that's going to be most armor lost, no one's lost armor. The lowest TMM, the highest medium damage. Well, medium damage for the Hunchback and the Mana Core are both 3. They both have the lowest TMM. So it's going to pick what's closer, which I think is going to be the Hunchback. So it's going to go for that. Going to need, oh boy, it's going to need hardly anything. I think it's in medium range. Yeah, it is. So it's going to be, I think, a 5. Uh-oh. Yeah, and it's going to overheat too. So that's going to be 7 damage coming to the Hunchback. Okay. Yikes. This is going to be, oh my God. It's going to be 5s on 7 pairs of dice. Here we go. Oh my God. I missed a couple. Unbelievable. Okay, those 2 missed. Everything else hits. So that's going to be 5 points of damage. The Hunchback has exactly 5 armor. So that strips the armor. That's going to put overheat onto the Thunderbolt. So it's going to get an overheat of 2. That's probably going to prevent it from getting off the map because it did that. But okay, Hunchback takes a wallop, but hanging in there. All right, I'm going to keep the 7 dice in my hand because the Bane is going to go after the Mana Core. I think it only has 6s. Its skill is 3, -1 for standstill is 2. No modifier for the Summoner. It's got medium range, so that's going to be a 4. It's got a 5 TMM, 6 for the woods. It does have a 7 for the indirect fire. Got to add that penalty. Forgot about that. But it's not shooting, so it doesn't have the extra penalty. Needs 7s. Whoops, drop the dice. I drop these dice a lot, but I got a lot in my hand. 7s. That looks like, oh my Lord. I think it hit all but 1, and it got a critical hit. So it did 6 damage, which the Mana Core actually has 6 armor. So yeah, so it's, okay, so it loses all its armor, and it's going to take a critical hit and a motive hit. So the pink are going to be the motive, and the green are going to be a critical hit, and I'm going to have to look up the table. Ooh, okay, it's going to take a motive hit, -2, and a 10. Luckily, it's not an 11. That would be real bad. Let's see what a 10 does. I think it's just a weapon hit. All right, there's the damage on the 3 Sparks Company side. Mana Core and Hunchback both lose all their armor. Mana Core takes a -2-inch motive hit, has a 0 TMM now, and it takes a weapon hit. So all in all, not bad. Those 2 units are there to soak damage, so that's A-okay with me. They're probably not going to get off the map, but I will gladly take this result. We got the big guy into force withdrawal. So we're going to go into the end phase now. I cleaned up all the dice. We have 2 overheating here, 1 in force withdrawal, 1 with a motive hit, and then these 3, of course, already have an MP hit. So on the back of the card, so it's just going to stick with B as far as I know. Okay, so I'm going to do initiative, but I got to move the tracker up first, and then we're going to trigger the 2 waypoints. I'm going to get to pick 2 waypoints anywhere I want. I can pick any 2 off the board that I want, and I'm pretty sure the other one's going to bring 2 more units onto the board. Let's do J first. 10J. This was obviously a well-planned trap, and you check your long-range scanners just in time to catch 2 more enemy mechs moving to flank your position. Roll a die to determine where the Locust 2C deploys. 1 to 3 is the northwest corner, and 4 to 6 is the southwest corner. Okay, so you place the Howler wherever the Locust 2C does not go. So I'm going to do the red die. I rolled a 5. It's going to go in the southwest corner. So there's the Locust 2C. It's going to go down here. And the Howler is going to go up in the northwest corner. Okay, so 2 more mechs on the board. Now let's do waypoint K. The Star Captain Conrad Sender have any more surprises in store. If there are any unrevealed waypoints on the map, choose any 2 waypoints on the map and reveal them one at a time. Then move this waypoint to the next space on the turn track. It will trigger again next turn. Otherwise, discard this waypoint. Okay, so it's going to move to the next part of the turn track, which I already did. J is done. So I can reveal any 2 of these waypoints. I also remember I have the 2 sniper cards. Do I want to use these? Seems like there's no point. But I also paid 100 for them. So what the heck? Okay, I'm going to reveal 2 waypoints. I think I'm going to take the 2 up top here and then sprint these things this way. I think that maybe is a good move. Let me take this one first. Okay, I got I up here, and I think I'll take this one. I and B. If you have the keyword hidden raid, I do not. Okay, I guess I only read this if I have it, but I don't have that option, so that's not going to work. I, you fully expect more nasty surprises, but nothing happens. Choose a named pilot to gain 1 edge token. Sweet. Wow, I got away with that one. I got nothing. Perfect. Nothing else comes out. So my named pilot, so they both have 2. So I guess I give it to Ember because her thing is much more important. I don't think I'll need them, but okay. So there you go. So that's the end of the first round. Do I want to use the sniper? I'll save it for this round. Probably shouldn't have spent that 100. All right, no change to the command card, so the Bane's going to go last again. They get a -2 to their initiative because they won last time, so green gets a -2. Holy, what the? I don't even know what to say about that. So they get a -2, so we win. I rolled 4 6s. Okay, normally I roll that on critical hits and stuff, but today I'm rolling it on initiative. All right. Well, hey, that's cool. We still win. So now comes the important part. We're in the movement phase. They have to go first. So let me see who's going to go. All right. It's going to be the Thunderbolt. So I'm going to reread the rule here. And I think it's ambiguous as to what's supposed to happen here. Let me get rid of these, by the way. Special rules. Falcon's Fury. Star Captain Conrad Sender's Thunderbolt 2C cannot be destroyed. It survives with 1 structure instead. Any attack that would normally mark off structure will deal a critical hit as usual. Its MV cannot be reduced. Ignore the MP hit critical hit. So when I read that, you could read it in 2 ways. Its MV, I'm going to show it here, sorry. Its MV cannot be reduced. Okay, does that mean ever? So even with heat, it cannot be reduced? Ignore the MP critical hit. The way it's written here means you can't reduce its MV through MP critical hit. But if it overheats, you can reduce its MV. Again, it's ambiguous. Like a lot of things in this book, it's like 99% of the rules are clear, but then there's that one little thing where it's not totally clear. But since I don't think you came here to watch a 1-round battle, I'm going to go ahead and play it like his MV can be reduced by heat. So now when we look at the force withdrawal card, it says nearest target. It doesn't matter. So nearest target would be the blackjack would be Ember. Escape from the edge, sprint if needed. Well, it can't escape from the edge. So I guess it, what is it going to do then? It only has to move an inch to the edge? Because next it says, get closer to the escape edge. Get cover versus as many enemies as possible. So I guess in that case, it could just go right here. I think the way it plays, though, is if you have anything in the woods, if any part of your base is in the woods, it counts. So I think he could just get his base like touching the template. So we could do something like that. He would have, okay, that's good. He would have everything in his front arc, and he gets a TMM of 0. Okay, we'll just play it like that. That's fine. Again, I don't know if that's right. If you don't reduce his move at all, he just has the full move all the time. In that case, he would just sprint off the map and this mission would be over. All right, well, there's my first moves. I have to do 3 units, and I decided I'll just sprint the 3 APCs this direction. They're full 12 inches. I spread them out a little bit just in case we get any kind of artillery or some crazy surprise in the next round. And this probably isn't the smartest move. I should wait for those until the very end because now anything that's looking for a move target will automatically key on those. And to that point, here's a summoner's card. It's going to look for the ideal blue has moved. It's going to automatically go out to find a moved unit on the blue list, which is the destroy objective. So it will pick one of these units I have to measure out, which is closest, probably this one. I figured I'll use those first because I want to see where they go so I can try to get as many of my units out of here as possible without getting damaged. But unfortunately, that means they're all going to key on it. And for things like the Locust and the Howler, that means they could move really quickly this direction. So we shall see. I hope they have the red list. All right, so that's where the summoner ends up moving, all the way down here. It wanted cover versus as many enemies as possible. And then I want to get closer to the target and get in the fewest enemy targeting ranges. So I thought about here, and then I thought about here, but this I think is the best because it covers it from the most. I honestly should have walked back this move and put him here until the end, but you know what? I'll move him there. We'll let it go. It'll be more exciting. The Automa might actually go after them this time because I moved them first. All right, there are my next movements. I put the LRM carrier in base to base with this APC, so if the summoner does decide to attack it, it can use the edge token with Shockwave to take the damage. I moved the Hermes back to that one. I thought about moving the Clint back here, but then I thought, you know what? I better get a unit moved in close proximity to the aces here so they key on that instead of these things. So I just moved the Pegasus there. It should be in medium range of anything. Maybe, I don't think the Howler can get within short range of it, but as long as it's in medium range, it should be okay. Summoner can't hit it. This thing's, it's going to be really hard for the commander to hit it. So I'm feeling pretty good about that, and I'm hoping they'll just key on that now and leave these guys alone. So here's the Locust. Yep, it'll go right there. All right, for my movement, I just went ahead and tried to get some of these units in the best position they could defensively. So I put the Hunchback here. I moved the Victor here, which is out of line of sight, I think, of everything as of now. And then I sprinted the Skulker up this way and put it there. The Howler actually has a pretty good chance to get to them, but it's not going to do it because it wants to be able to get behind the ideal yellow, which would be the destroy objective, but it cannot get behind them. So it looks for any units that have moved within 30 inches. There's quite a few of them right here. And then it's only going to go out 16 inches and then 28 inches. And it would want line of sight to the yellow target, which is the destroy objective. But it's only going to go out 20 inches, so it can't get there. So it'll have the Hunchback, the Pegasus, and the Skulker. Yellow list is looking for armor lost, so it's going to go for the Hunchback. Okay, so the instructions are for the target to have no cover, but it unfortunately can't move far enough. Well, unfortunately for it, can't move out far enough to make that happen for the Hunchback. Then it wants to get line of sight only to the target. There's really nowhere where it could do that. So then we get down to fewest enemy targeting ranges and get cover versus as many. So I think I could put it here on this hillside. All right, so that's where it went. I debated a little bit because when it's there, it also has the tree in the way to the Hunchback. But since it can't get the Hunchback with no cover, it's going to at least have the partial from the hill. I'm just going to ignore that instruction. And this lets it get in fewer enemy targeting ranges, because if I move it out this way to get out of the tree, the Mana Core can see it. So I think that's the correct place for the Howler to go. But again, not going for the destroy objective. Okay, I did my movement. I moved the Clint back, put it in base to base with this APC, even though it doesn't have a named pilot, so can't do anything with that. And then I moved the Condor from here down to here to be able to maybe take a shot at the Summoner, even though it doesn't matter, or to distract the Summoner into attacking it instead of any of these. And so now we're on to the Bane. The Bane wants to move. So the Bane's going to use Balanced because there are no moved enemies within 12 inches. The Pegasus is the closest, but it's about 17. So it wants to use Balanced. It goes out, it's going to have to go out 24 to find anything. It wants the red list, a moved enemy on the red list, which is going to be lowest armor. So again, it's going to pick the Hunchback, which is just inside of 24. It says, I want a unit that does not have, I don't have line of sight to, right? That is moved. Okay, well, doesn't have line of sight to anything, and these two have moved. But the question is, does it want to not have line of sight now or when it's done? I mean, I would think it doesn't want line of sight when it's done, but it just says no unmoved enemies in 12, cover versus as many enemies. I've seen this question asked on Reddit, but cover on the back of the book says anything with a defensive benefit like woods, partial cover from a hill, or water. But does cover also mean just the enemy can't see you? I mean, that's a defensive benefit. You can't be attacked. So I'm inclined to say yes, and then get closer to the target. I'll just move it up a little bit. It does have to use ground movement. That's what the card says. And then I'll just mark it, because the other alternative is, well, cover versus as many enemies would be like that, where it could get a benefit from the hillside, but that just seems dumb. I mean, why wouldn't it just stay where it is and use indirect fire? I mean, what's the point of peeking itself out here? I mean, I guess it prevents another unit from not attacking, but just given the instructions on the card, I mean, it's already in cover from everything. It can get a little bit closer to the target. I think that's how I'm going to play it. As always, let me know what you think. All right, movement's done. I moved the Blackjack. I jumped it back up against the wall. I don't want Ember to take any damage here if possible, or at least nothing too serious. So maxed her TMM. She has overheated, so she has less ground movement. So I just moved her there. She only has line of sight to the Thunderbolt, which is going to have massive penalties, and the Howler. So hoping she can come out of this not too bad. And then the Mana Core, I actually sprinted this. I sprinted it that direction. I want to try to get it out of potential firing because it already has no armor. So I think the Hunchback's going to get messed up because at least a couple things are on the red list, which one's the least armor. So I think the Hunchback might not get off the table, but I'm hoping the Mana Core can. As you can see, there are very few units. The Howler, the Bane, and the Locust cannot see the destroy objective. So there's pretty much no chance they're going to go after them. This Summoner might, it just depends on the range bracket it gets. It might only be able to get to the Condor and attack that. It might, I think that's all it can see. It can see all of these plus the Condor, so it could get the destroy objective. The Thunderbolt could get them, but there's a much better chance this Thunderbolt's going for one of these two. All right, getting ready for this round of combat. The Bane, once the Hunchback, least armor, as I predicted, it's going to use the Howler as its spotter. The Howler has line of sight to it. The only priority is not prioritizing target number, it's prioritizing who does the least amount of damage, because they all use ground movement. So once the least amount of damage, that would be the Howler. So the Howler will not attack this round of combat, although it does have a double penalty for woods and partial cover for that Hunchback. All right, Thunderbolt's up first. It also wants the Hunchback. Don't think the Hunchback's going to last too long here, but it unfortunately has good numbers for us because the Thunderbolt has a 2 skill, +2 for its heat, 2 for the range, we're at a 6, 7 for the TMM, and an 8 for the partial cover. So it's going to need 8s to hit this, so we got a chance. All right, here we go. Thunderbolt on Hunchback needs 8s. Ooh, that looks pretty good for them. Well, not that good. It's 2. Does 2 damage, so that's going to put it into force withdrawal. I'm going to mark that right away, so the Hunchback is in force withdrawal, not that it really matters. This game's going to end after this round anyway, but it does get a critical hit. I'm going to roll that with the green. Critical hit on the Hunchback. Ooh, that's not good. That's an engine hit, I believe. All right, Bane goes next, using the Howler as a spotter. Once the Hunchback, so this is good for us, it's going to blow 7 damage when the Hunchback only has 2 pips left. So it's going to be 9s. There's a chance this thing could survive. And I think it did. I'm pretty sure. So the purple, they missed no matter what. I think only the pink hit, if you can believe it. Just the pink. Everything else missed. Crazy. Okay, let me clean these dice up, then I'll do another critical. Okay, wow, that was a lot of dice. Okay, here we go. A 9, that's nothing. Okay, so the Hunchback hangs in there. 1 pip of internal left. There it is, didn't mark that pip yet, so yeah, just got the 1 left. But it does have an engine hit, so it will overheat if it fires, but at this point, why bother? All right, switching to the overhead view for the Summoner, which is next. It wants to go out 6 inches, which it does have the blackjack, but of course it can't attack it. So it has to go out to 24 inches. Can't hit any target's rear on this attack. But it wants to go to the blue command list, which would be the destroy objective. However, it's only going out 24 inches. If I measure, these are not in 24. Even the closest one that it can see is about 26. Instead, I got to figure out what it has line of sight to. Definitely the Condor, the LRM carrier, and this destroy objective. All right, Summoner's going to attack the Condor. At first, I thought, good thing I moved that Condor in there because it's the only thing it can see at 24 inches, and it would have gone out farther than that if it didn't have it. But then I looked, and Summoner can hit from long range, so it really didn't matter. So I probably should have moved the Condor farther out. Anyway, it's going to have 8s to hit, and it does 5 damage. Does a lot of damage. So let's see, but those are high numbers, 8s. It gets 1, just the green dice, and it will do a motive hit. So that's just 1 to the Condor. That's not bad. Motive hit on the Condor with a +1 modifier. That's a 7. That does nothing. So, wow. Really got away with 1 there. All right, the Locust is peeking out around the hill. It wants the Pegasus because it has less cover than the Skulker over there. Does 5 damage at medium range, also needs 8s. Same thing, only got 1, just the pink dice. I'll tell you what, this 3 Sparks company, they're rejuvenated. Okay, motive hit on the Pegasus. That's nothing. Okay, there it is. That's what the aces managed to do to us. 1 pip on the Pegasus and Condor with no motive hits. Got the Hunchback down to 1 pip of internal and an engine hit. That's it. Pathetic. Maybe they revived Miser and he's their commander now. All right, at this point, the mission's over. The Thunderbolt has to sprint off on the next round, so we'll just automatically win for the duel objective. So there's not a whole lot of reason to attack here, but we're going to take some shots at the Howler off there in the distance. Just see if we can get an extra 200 SP for taking it out. It's going to be really hard. Ember is going to have, I think, a 12 to hit it. Pretty sure, because she jumped. Yep, Ember needs 12s, but you know what? What the heck? She's pretty awesome. Let's see if she can get a 12. 3 damage from medium range. Oh, so close. So close. And if that hit, if we only needed 11s, she could have done a critical. All right, Pegasus is going to give it a crack. Adds a partial cover penalty, so it's going to need 10s. Does 2 damage. That missed 2. All right, we're just kind of going through the motions here. Hunchback's going to try to shoot at the Howler. It needs 11s. Does 3 damage from medium range. It's going to take a point of heat because it has an engine hit. 11s it is. Not even close. All right, the Hermes is going to shoot at the commander just for the hell of it, because why not? Let's see if we can just pop his cockpit even though he can't die. So it's going to need 9s. Does 2 damage from long range. And it got a 10. Nice job. Way to go. So that thing's down to 1 pip. I think it had 2. Yeah, it's down to its final pip now, which it can never go below. Can roll a critical. Let's get 12 here. Ah, that's too bad, but that's a fire control hit. All right, Clint's going to do the same thing. Got the same number. 9s on the commander. Oh, just missed. All right, last but not least, the Condor is going to shoot at the Summoner. I don't know why I'm even bothering with this, but it's going to have 8s to hit it. So needs 8s, does 2 for medium range. And it got 1. Yay, that does nothing. All right, may as well spend the 2 sniper cards I paid for him. I'll hold this up here. All right, so we need 8. So the first one's coming in, needs an 8. It hits within a 2-inch. If I miss, I got to figure out the drift and how far it goes. Here we go. 8, come on, 8. Oh, we got it. Okay, 2 damage to the Howler. All right, we got something going. All right, second sniper coming in. Hey, maybe these Apolakkians really do know how to use artillery. Got to roll an 8 again, and we take this Howler out and secure 200 more SP. Come on, 8. Ah, darn it. Okay, so now what we'll do is we're going to figure out the direction, which will be the orange, and how far it drifts, which will be the blue. I'm hoping the blue is going to roll a 1. Here we go. That drifts 2 inches, so... I mean, I was aiming on top of the Howler, so yeah, that's going to drift and not do any damage. I unfortunately won't kill it, so those were a complete waste. Complete waste. So let me clear off all the stuff, and then we'll do the waypoints. All right, cleaned up, and same joke as always, I never remember to flip the initiative. So waypoint K, we're going to go to the back of the book again, and we're going to basically do the same thing. It just says pick 2 waypoints. There will still be waypoints, so I put the K back on turn 4, even though it won't matter. If I were playing this seriously, like I didn't know I was going to win, I'd flip this one. I'd get waypoint A, and then I probably would take this one back here, and that would be waypoint E. So let's see what these would do. Another one, if you look at that. If you have the keyword hidden raid, you keep bracing for the worst, but nothing happens. Choose a named pilot to gain 1 edge for the sortie. Otherwise, I don't have... Oh, you know what? Shoot. I should have kept reading on the last one. Oh, such an idiot. I'm sorry. I should have kept reading on the other one. Down at the bottom it says, if you don't have it, I didn't realize that. A point of elemental springs into action. Okay, so potentially they could... You know what? I'm going to just bring them out and we'll see what they would have done. And then this one for point A down here, this would have been also... They needed to do this differently. They should say, if you don't have the keyword, if you do, then you get all this stuff. Okay, whatever. I didn't use edge anyway, so it's no big deal. I'm going to bring the elementals out and we'll see what they would have done. All right, so the green elementals up here, the turn order would have been second. They would have been after the Thunderbolt. So the nearest unit to them would have been this APC right here. So they would have used their full movement to jump 6 inches. Yeah, so they would have just jumped like that. Because all they wanted to get in the woods, but they can't, so they would just get closer to the target. And in the fewest moved enemy lines of sight or targeting ranges, not much would have moved. They were all facing this way anyway. Of course, I would have positioned them slightly differently if I knew those were there. So they would have gone there. And then for their combat, they would have gone within 6 inches, which those are. Looks for no armor, attacked by an ally, highest point, highest point value. Let me see if that Hermes is, yeah, that Hermes is in 6 inches. And of course, if I had known those were there, I probably would have moved this even closer. Yeah, so it wouldn't have mattered. Would have attacked the Hermes. Even if it did attack the APC, it doesn't matter. They can only do 2 damage. So it could, at worst, it could take its armor away. It could have potentially done a motive hit. The mechs have to attack these things to end the mission. This is not enough to kill 3 APCs. Another one. Point of elementals bursts from a nearby cover and swarms towards your force. Place the waypoint with another elemental. If I hadn't moved this way, if you're kind of putsy with your movement, you can end up with a whole bunch of elementals back here that could swarm you. And that could be bad. The way it plays, even if I had a 48-inch wide and I have 44, so it's almost 48 inches, but you start, the APCs start about here. So with 3 full sprints, they can get off this map no matter what. All right, in any case, other than my goof there with the elementals, which we just realized wouldn't have made any difference, it would have moved toward this, but it ultimately would have attacked this. So I would roll initiative, but it doesn't matter what happens because the Thunderbolt has more than enough movement now to get off the map. It has to sprint off the map if it can. And so it would move off the map, and that's one of the goals. For the primary objective, duel, the Thunderbolt 2C withdraws due to the force withdrawal special rule, and it says the sortie ends immediately when you have completed one of the primary objectives, which I have. So that'll do it. Okay, I'll clean this up, and then we will do the after sortie steps. I should make out really well this time and finally have some points to play with. All right, that's it. Mission 10 in the books. The 3 Sparks Company finally got a name. And with Ember as their commander, they dominated the mission. Just completely dominated it. Steve had to sit out the mission due to a wound. He is healed. He's back in the game for the next mission. So that's awesome. We don't have to scratch anything off. There's nothing to recover. Nothing was destroyed. Practically nothing happened. Manticore lost all its armor, took a motive hit and a critical hit. Hunchback got down to 1 pip, took an engine hit. That's not great, but it's okay. And then the Pegasus and the Condor took 1 pip of damage. That's it. That's it. The entire mission. That's it. So amazing. We really came out with that very well. The sniper was a waste, but I wasn't sure with such a low point value if I'd be able to do it. I'll have to count this up, but it was it was way under what we were allowed to bring. So let's figure out what we got here. So our primary objective was complete. We got 1,800. Other objectives, unfortunately, we weren't able to kill anything, so we got a 0 on that. And then our total income will be 1,800. I did spend the 100 for the Reconnaissance. And for waypoints, let's see what happens, but I don't think we're going to get anything here. Name pilots earn up to 120 SP each. Very nice. You were expecting ugly and you got it. Clearly the star captain is determined to die, but not without putting up a brutal fight in the meantime. You made a good faith effort at negotiation. What comes next is on him. Which objective did you complete? If you completed the duel, we did. Bested in combat, the furious Conrad Sender declares an immediate fighting withdrawal for all of his forces, giving you the opportunity to keep up the pressure and settle this conflict. The locals are pretty sure the Falcons have taken flight back to their main garrison. Gain the keyword duel. Next step, go to Sortie 11. I have not done Sortie 11, so I'll be looking forward to doing a mission I haven't done before after doing this one several times. And there's 2 different options, of course, if you escaped or you were able to overpower them. The escape one looks like it has more going on. I'm not going to read it because I've never done that one. All right, so no waypoint SP, which I figured, but it's all good. I had 10 units. I don't think I count the APCs. So 10 units, none of them have ENE, so it's going to be 10 times 20. It's going to be 200 to pay for rearming. What a waste. No wounded. Nobody was wounded. Nobody was destroyed. So nothing for that. New and replacement named pilots. I think I do want to get one. I'm going to use all this SP to get a new named pilot now. Destroyed units, we had 0, so nothing for that. Crippled units, I got to remember what that means. Oh, sorry. I do know what that means. So the Hunchback was crippled. Hunchback was a crippled unit. It had less than half of its structure. So that's a size of 2. So that's going to be 120. Any structure damage or criticals, that would be the Manticore. That's a size 3, but that is a tank, so that's 1.5. So that's going to be 60. And then only armor damage, we had the Pegasus and the Condor, a total of 3, so that's also 1.5. So that's going to be 30. That looks much, much better. So we had 300, 510 without the name pilot. That's tempting, but I think I need another named pilot. So 520 would become 670 expenses. And so that would be then 1,130. Come away with 1,130. That is crazy. What's going on? I don't know how to deal with this. Okay, so we go back now to our campaign log. So we got 1,130. Of course, the name pilots are going to suck up a lot of this. So they get 120 each. Now, Steve doesn't because he wasn't in the mission. So he's going to get only 60. So that's going to be exactly 300. I don't know if I'm purchasing anything yet. 830 points to add to this. So we'll have 1,440 overall. I'm going to do the name pilots now before I forget because I always forget. So Steve has, it says 391. So that's going to put him up to 511. Steve is only going to get 60, so that's going to put him at 452. All right, and Ember is going to get the MVP. I mean, nobody really did a whole lot in this mission, but she started it off by hitting all of her shots. So she's going to get 140, so that's going to put her up to 531. And I think I'm going to take this opportunity to officially get her up to 400 on this. So she's got a 3 skill now. And so that was 129, so she would have, I guess, 11 points left. And I'm going to use that for edge abilities. So 71. So yeah, that adds up to 531. Great. Steve, unfortunately, was out, so he's not going to have enough. Wouldn't have enough anyway, because he spent a lot on edge abilities. 240. So he would have 212 for his skill. And then for Shockwave, everything's going into his skill, so that's going to be 271. Okay, so Ember just gets better and better. And so as the commander now, she has had a great resounding victory. Really has 2 because she did a great job on the last one. There was that little moment there, though, where Star Captain Sender kind of hinted at that he had done her a favor of some sort. And, Ember didn't seem to really care. She was just ruthless, cold-blooded as she always is, and just blasted him in the flank. So there you have it. She's a commander now. Force seems to be doing much better. Couldn't have done much worse. So, all right, let's talk about this mission. I hope you enjoyed this. I mean, it wasn't a great playthrough. I mean, let's be real. It wasn't great. And I have to say, it just gets a huge thumb down for me. I mean, the concept of this mission is really cool, right? But just in the way you're playing it, it just doesn't have any tension. I mean, there was literally no tension whatsoever in this mission. None. And it's a combination of things. There's several things going on here that just make this not work, in my opinion. I watched 2 other YouTube videos where people played this mission and they moved the APCs first, which, I mean, I guess you could do that. Again, the rules don't say you have to do that. So I don't know what the logic is behind moving them. I mean, these are the most precious things on the map for you as the player. So it would seem to reason that just naturally you're not going to move them first, right? You don't want to give your opponent any inkling of where these are going until the last minute. So I think the mission was maybe a little more stressful. I didn't watch every single second of it. I just kind of tried to see the flow of their mission overall. But I did notice they moved them first. So if you did that, yeah, sure, this might be a little more interesting because then the aces can key on those and get in a better position to attack them. But I don't know how many players are going to do that. I mean, I feel like most players are going to say, oh God, I got to get these off the map, so these are going to go last. Again, maybe I'm taking this too seriously, but I think that's just a logical thing that people would choose to do. They put this terrain by the enemy, and so that immediately gives them places to hide in the woods and around the hills. And most of the cards in aces are going to have those filters at some point. So it might say something like, find a target that's, 14 inches, 16 inches, 20 inches out. If I move something forward, it's going to find it. And then it's going to say, maybe get closer to it, maybe get in the fewest enemy targeting ranges, get some cover, or get some woods, whatever. There's enough places right around here for them to work that out. And when you have the missile boat, it's got a place right next to it to hide. And that's fine. The missile boat should hide. But these two, in my opinion, need to get out there and go after those APCs. And they just don't do it. This one got the closest. I mean, in this time, this was different from my other playthroughs. This time, they pulled the destroy objective on the skirmisher, which was the summoner, and the brawler, which was the thunderbolt. They both pulled the destroy objective. They both keyed on them. But the summoner just wanted to get some cover, so it had to stay back here. And the brawler wanted to get closer and be able to attack everything on the map, which meant it just moved a little bit ahead and had, because of where I positioned the 2 units, it kind of had to go right about here and get in between them. I couldn't really move it like up here or anything, which it didn't say it wanted to do anyway. I mean, get closer. It was so close to begin with, it couldn't move very much. The other problem was just that they don't prioritize the destroy objectives enough. They made it too easy for you to get them off of that destroy objective. Why they start you on card B, I have no idea. They should have you on a card with a destroy objective on every color. Because you can see, even when they pull the destroy objective, they're still easy to get off of that objective. You can still hide them, you can still sprint them out of range, and they won't pick it up. So it's not like you're giving the player a break or anything. The player doesn't need any breaks. But even then, when it's on all the color lists, it can still not pick it up because you put something in closer range. I bring the Skulker down, things key on the Skulker. I bring that Pegasus down at the end, they key on the Pegasus because it's closer. I bring the Condor here, the Summoner keys on that for combat, and it's just too easy to get them out of range, the destroy objectives. With buildings, it's great. Buildings get a lot of stat adjustments that are going to make them pick up the target and they're stationary, so it's easy for them to move toward them, and the player can't do anything to manipulate their stats, right? It works for those. For these units, it just doesn't work. I sprint them, I hide them first, and then I sprint them out this way, and now they're out of range, and the Automa's never going to pick them up. I don't get it. So another suggestion might be put a movement objective here for the Automa. Make them move this direction. Get them out of this hiding in their little cozy nooks here with a cover. Make them move this way. Make it hard for the player to do this. And then finally, I don't know about this dual option. Like, just put this thing in force withdrawal and make it go off the map. I mean, I don't know. It's just not hard enough. Like, I got lucky with that movement card, but even if it moved back here into the woods, okay, I think I still would have managed. And like I said, it's always going to overheat on the first round because it's going to get a super low target number with a skill of 2. So then on the next round, it's super easy to put it into force withdrawal anyway, and then it's going to go off the map. Did they want this to be easy for the player? Maybe. Maybe this is just meant to be kind of like, okay, this seems like it's going to be real complicated and crazy, but it's really meant to be super easy if you attack the Thunderbolt. The players get a lot of points. It kind of sets the stage. It's just a little bit of story, and then you move on to the next mission. But for me personally, I expect this to be really tense. You're meeting with the enemy for the first time. I want tension. I want this to be panic-stricken, kind of like the convoy mission was. Like, I want it to feel that way. Like, I don't know if I can succeed in the mission. I'm not sure if they designed this game that way. That's what I'm trying to figure out as I play through it. Did they want this to be just a story with some fun missions for the player, just to have a good time with their buddies, and it's not really meant to be super challenging? Or did they intend for this to be really hard? Because the first mission was hard. The last mission with the convoy was hard. The second mission could have been really hard. We got lucky by taking the Marauder 2C out on a 12. But this mission, I just can't see a way that this mission would be difficult unless you decided to move these slowly, like use ground movement to just kind of move them in a slow way out here and have them try to attack, and then move them slow again, and then not attack this, just go for the bonus and try to take out the other mechs. Maybe you could make this hard. But as it is, I just don't think it's challenging enough. I don't know. I think they've done a great job in this campaign book, but this mission is just not good. I don't like it. All right, that's that. Moving on to mission 11 for the next round. I may double this up with another mission when I post it because I don't think this was super thrilling. But I tried to use some voices and joke around a little bit with the combat just because I kind of knew where this was heading right away. As soon as this thing moved forward, it just sat there. I'm like, this is going to be dumb. So anyway, I tried to make things a little bit funny, but that's hit or miss for anybody. So as always, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Give me your comments on this mission. Am I crazy? Did I do something wrong? Was it super intense for you? Let me know. Love to hear it.